All right, hello everybody. Welcome to your very favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I'm your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right, and this is our big 51st episode. All right, the 50th was gigantic. Our viewership skyrocketed, or our listenership, and we have no choice now but to continue. Anyway, so for this week, it's my pick. Actually, no, it's your pick. What am I
it's my
about?
pick.
Yeah, your pick. Oh.
You picked that dumb Superman comic book last time.
I did what I could. I was trying to get down to the roots of the Bronze Age, but it didn't work.
So, here we go. This week we're doing Silver Surfer, number 17 from 1970. We're just getting in there in the Bronze Age, 1970.
Yep, skin of our teeth.
So I love the Silver Surfer, Mike L. I don't know how you feel about him.
I love this version, and I love the Steve Englehart version. That's pretty much all I know.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I purchased the Steve Englehart, because I think that started in 89, I believe, if I'm remembering properly, or maybe 87-ish.
I think 87, yeah.
Yeah, 87-ish. 87 exactly. You can forget the ish. Yeah, that's when Steve Englehart started, and Roger Marshall. Marshall Rogers. Yeah. Marshall Rogers was the artist. And then Ron Lim came in, and I loved Ron Lim stuff back then. So, I loved that series, and I never read any of the original Silver Surfer run. And so that's what we're reading today.
This is your first Stan Lee issue then?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I actually read this entire run. I've got, I think, 2 volumes of the Marvel Masterworks in soft covers, so I've got most of it. So yeah, it's good stuff.
So let's talk Silver Surfer. His real name's Norrin Radd, which is so ridiculous.
I personally love that name. I think it's so cool. Norrin Radd.
And his first appearance was Fantastic Four 48, 1968, and he is created by just Jack Kirby. Is credited as the creator.
That's right.
Creator. But we'll talk about that more in a minute. He comes from the planet Zenla, and he was a herald for Galactus. Galactus was going to eat his planet, and he says, hey, don't eat my planet. I'll serve you as your herald. I'll find you planets to eat. And because he's the good guy, he'd always try to find, non-inhabited planets.
That's right.
And so Galactus says, all right, you'll be my herald, and he turned him into the Silver Surfer. Because if it's one thing giant alien planet-eating destroyers like, it's surfing. So he put him on a surfboard. Like, the character itself is so ridiculous. I mean, come on. Well, like a guy in space on a surfboard, it's absurd.
I gotta say, I love Kirby, but this idea is so 60s if you think about it, right? And
yes.
The fact that his name is Silver Surfer. Now, are you familiar with Kirby's follow-up character in The New Gods? The Black Racer.
Good Lord.
He rode, it was almost exactly the same, except he rode a pair of skis. And I'm not joking. I'm not making that up. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
I know, I get it. Everybody loves Kirby, but come on. He was pretty ridiculous a lot of the times.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the fact is that, it was, he knew it was absurd. He probably knew, right? Like, it was just
I don't think so. I think he thought it was cool. but even like the name Norrin Radd and a surfer.
I think Norrin Radd, that was Stan Lee's idea. I think, as far as I know, Stan Lee, Kirby never wanted there to be like an origin. His idea was that I think Surfer was just like created from energy, but Stan Lee came up with the whole Zen Law and Norrin Radd thing.
That's why it's weird that Lee is not credited as a co-creator here, because really everything that makes the Silver Surfer who he is was created by Stan Lee.
That's true.
Kirby came up with it. Here's how the creation started, Michael. Mm-hmm. Remember the Marvel Way? Sure. Kirby and Lee, they would sit down, they would talk, they discuss the general plot, and then Kirby would go draw it, and then he'd send it back to Lee, who would add dialogue. Well, when Kirby drew it, he just added Silver Surfer without telling Lee beforehand.
That's right.
Like they had never agreed on it. Lee had no idea that this character was going to be there. Kirby just thought Galactus should have a herald scouting out planets, so he put him in there. And so when it showed up on Lee's desk, he's like, oh, well, I guess I got to write something here. So he came up with the backstory and everything. And as you said, Kirby only envisioned the Surfer as like a pure energy, a construct of pure energy, and he was completely evil. He was supposed to be a villain, not anything good. And then Lee made him into this philosophical, tortured soul.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, Lee really created the Silver Surfer, everything about it except the guy on the surfboard.
Right.
So that's interesting that Kirby gets sole credit. Yeah, I don't know. Because then people bitch at Stan Lee for saying, well, why are you the creator when you didn't do it? You just came up with the original idea. You didn't, other guys design what they look like. So I don't know. How do you feel about this, Michael?
Well, this goes back to, you could apply that to many characters, right? Like, you could say Wolverine. Like, who created Wolverine? Okay, so apparently I think it was Len Wein and John Romita Sr., right?
I think there's someone else in there too. It might be
probably. But it's like, okay, so what did they come up with? A power and a costume. But then who wrote the first story? It might have. I think it was maybe it was Len Wein. But then it's like, okay, that's one appearance. But then what about his backstory? What about the way his face looked? Like, his face was John Byrne. The claws were Dave the claws. Being in his arms, that was Dave Cockrum, right? And then the origin was Chris Claremont. And then the further origin was Barry Windsor Smith. So at that point, there's like 8 creators, in my opinion.
I would say like Byrne and Claremont were like the people who really created Wolverine.
Who made him what he is, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Dave Cockrum as well, because Dave Cockrum drew him for a couple of years and added a couple things.
He was the guy that first showed his face.
Right, Cockrum. Okay, it was Cockrum then, okay.
But who else may have been given credit for creating him was our buddy Herb Trimp, because he was the artist. I think
first one to draw him. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, Romita Jr. drew like the concept art, or Senior drew the concept art, and then so I think Trimp might be in it. And Trimp drew the cover for this issue that we're discussing today. It all ties together.
Look at that.
The Herb Trimp. So the Surfer. Stan Lee loved the Surfer, the character, and he kind of adopted him as his own, and that kind of pissed off Kirby. Mm-hmm. And a big bone of contention was when they decided to do a regular Silver Surfer series, Stan Lee assigned the art chores to John Buscema and not Jack Kirby. Mm-hmm. And Kirby was pissed, and that was some people think that was the final straw for him then leaving Marvel shortly after. Although this original run of Silver Surfer only lasted 18 issues, Stan Lee wrote all of them. John Buscema drew the first 17 issues, including the one we're doing today. But issue 18, drawn by Jack Kirby.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an odd issue, let me tell you. I read it. It's weird.
Yeah, the Inhumans and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. And it ends on a cliffhanger that I don't know if they ever resolved it. Maybe like 20 years later they did.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, like we said, Lee is responsible for all the characterization of the Surfer. And then in 1978, Lee and Kirby actually collaborated on for one final time. This is their final collaboration. They did a Silver Surfer, The Ultimate Cosmic Experience book, a 132-page graphic novel, basically.
Right. I think that was kind of like their pitch for the movie, as far as I know.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like but leaving out the FF, right? Because they thought
they didn't have the movie rights to him. They already sold the movie rights to Fantastic Four. So I forget the guy's name, but he approached Lee and Kirby and said, "Hey, I want to do a Silver Surfer movie, but we need like a story for it." And so Lee and Kirby, there was something called Fireside Books, and at the time they did like 11 collections of Marvel stories, like reprints of stories, and they put them in this prestige format. So Lee and Kirby wrote an original Silver Surfer story, and they did it. And some say, well, it's pretty much one of the first graphic novels. Right. The way it was done. Yeah. So there's this thing called Fireside Books, and they did 11 collections of Marvel reprints. And Lee and Kirby agreed to do an original story, a 132-page story, called Silver Surfer: The Ultimate Cosmic Experience. And like you were saying, I don't know the guy's name, but he's a movie producer. He said we needed a story for a movie. And here's the thing, Michael. He was married to Olivia Newton-John. And Olivia Newton-John was going to play the female lead in this film.
Whoa, that's cachet.
Yeah, especially in 78, Mm-hmm. Like that's... When did Grease come out? 77?
78, I think.
Ah, see, look at that. So Olivia Newton-John was, at her peak. So Lee and Kirby collaborated for this final story. It had to do with Galactus creating a female herald to like lure Silver Surfer back to him. Kind of like a Bride of Frankenstein kind of thing, essentially.
Sure.
And then the female lady, she sacrifices herself to save the Surfer in the end, and so it sounds like a good story. I've never read it.
I've read it. It's not as good as FF 48 to 50, though. It's not.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's past Kirby's peak. He was starting to decline by that point. So.
Yeah. So that was their final collaboration. And then in 1982, Stan Lee and John Byrne did a Silver Surfer one-shot.
Yeah.
And Byrne was given a writing credit on this. He shared it with Stan Lee, so that makes him the first person to ever write Surfer besides Lee.
Interesting. Huh.
And then the new series started in 1987, like we mentioned, Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers.
Yep.
And that ran for 146 issues until 1998.
Mm-hmm.
And Stan Lee has said he's sad that he didn't write that one.
Right.
He just wanted Surfer to always be his guy. Like no one else wrote him except him. But yeah, he did not write it. So he was sad. Trying to think. There's been other Silver Surfer series since then.
But no one's read any of them. Actually, there was a couple good ones. There was one drawn by Mike Allred. I think it was written by Dan Slott. That was good. And then one came out a year or two ago with this really crazy art style. And I can't remember the guy's name, but it was really good art. Like the kind of art that I think anyone would take notice of. It doesn't look like anything else I've ever seen in a comic book. But of course I can't remember who it was.
Because was it the Allred version where Silver Surfer had a girl with him? Like a human girl?
Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, the artist I'm talking about is Trad Moore. That's the newer series that came out 2019. Right. Yeah.
Maybe I'll check that out. Yeah. There's also another thing Lee did here. I'm trying to look for the date of it. Him and Mobius. Remember the French artist Mobius?
Oh, yes. I read that too, yeah.
1988. They did a 2-issue Silver Surfer series for Epic, the Epic imprint of Marvel. That was a big deal when it came out. I remember that as a kid.
Right.
I don't think I ever read it, though. But
it was pretty good. But I remember a lot of people criticizing the quality of the story versus the quality of the art,
Yeah, the art was kind of spectacular.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so that's the Silver Surfer. He's got the Power Cosmic and the Surfboard. And who else is in this issue? We got Shala Ball, his lady friend, and her first appearance was Silver Surfer 1, 1968. She was created by Lee and Buscema. And do you know her history, Michael? Because it gets pretty weird.
Oh, no. I mean, I know that she was... I know that when Steve Englehart wrote her, Silver Surfer ended up going back and she'd already found a new guy. And I don't remember what happened after that.
Well, Surfer's history is kind of weird because they say he's been serving Galactus for eons and stuff. So that would confuse timelines, and Shala Bal's a lady, so she's not like a Herald of Galactus, so how is she still alive? So apparently she's been killed and reanimated and made a clone of and all kinds of stuff over the years. So the typical comic book stuff.
Sure.
And I lost all track. I have no idea. So yeah, her background's very, very convoluted. But when you do these backgrounds, I like to just concentrate on the original one, because that's the real one.
Right.
All these other later writers come in and monkey it all up. But she was just Norrin Radd's girlfriend on Zenn-La. And do you know how they met, Michael?
No, I don't remember how.
Now, I guess this is probably a later writer, too, who came up with this idea. But when Norrin Radd was a kid, his mom committed suicide.
Really?
Because Zenn-La was like this utopia, but I guess it was driving his mom nuts because she felt restricted in what she could do. So she killed herself, and in Zenn-La at the time, if any youth went through a terrible incident like that, a tragedy, to help them through the grieving process, they were appointed a companion. And Shala Bal was Norrin Radd's companion. So he's known her since they were kids. But he wanted nothing to do with her, because he was a brooding, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking? Angst-ridden lad.
Okay.
Yeah, angst-ridden lad. I prefer angst because that's more like a '90s alternative.
Sure.
But emo is like The Cure and stuff.
Right.
So he wanted nothing to do with Shala Bal, but she always loved him. So eventually they got together, because later, Michael, his dad committed suicide as well.
Ooh, yikes.
Good Lord. So, yeah. But they were in love at the time when he decided to serve Galactus. So he had to give up his true love. And he had to give up his own home planet to save it. So what a sacrifice by Silver Surfer. All right, a couple other characters in this issue. Well, Nick Fury plays a prominent role, but we've talked about him before. But his buddy, Timothy Dum Dum Dugan,
right,
is here. And his first appearance was Sergeant Fury and His Howling Commandos #1, 1963, created by Lee and Kirby. And he's the big, like a barrel-chested, red mustache, and he always wears that little bowler hat.
Right.
He's pretty famous.
Yes.
And do you know his backstory, Michael? Because, again, he premiered in the 60s fighting in World War II and stuff with Nick Fury. We know Nick Fury's still old because he took that Infinity Serum. So
right.
that slowed his aging. So do you know how we still have Dum Dum Dugan all these years later?
No, I don't.
Because he's a live model decoy.
Come on!
The real Dum Dum Dugan was killed in action. And
when did they reveal this? This must be later.
I have no idea. But so Fury replaced him with he somehow got his consciousness and put it inside a live model decoy. And even I think for a while, Dum Dum Dugan didn't know he's a live model decoy. So,
what the hey?
Yeah.
How did I not know this?
Yeah, I didn't know it.
Wow.
But that explains, again, this is probably later writers coming in and monkeying with everything. But so that explains why he's still around. Mm-hmm. And I think Fury, I'm confusing him with my favorite goaltender, Marc-Andre Fleury. But Nick Fury, explained it to Dugan, why he's still around, because he told him he got the Infinity Serum too.
Huh.
But he didn't. He's a robot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Pretty weird.
I'm sure that whenever you're reading through their histories, there's always a point where you kind of mentally check out, right? You
yeah,
go,
it's all...
Okay, fuck this.
So
I'm not
absurd.
reading the rest of this. Exactly. Usually, it's around mid-90s, I just go, I don't give a shit about anything after this point.
Yeah,
you know?
I like to just focus on the originals. But, yeah, I'm interested, when Steranko was drawing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and shit, was this background then? Or when? I should have seen when this live model thing happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt it.
Anyway, one final character we need to discuss, Mephisto.
Right.
And I had no idea that he was originally a Silver Surfer villain. I just assumed he was I don't know, Fantastic Four Avengers or something like that.
Yeah, that surprised me too. I kind of always thought he was maybe Warlock or something, you know?
Maybe Ghost Rider even.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But
yeah, his first appearance was Silver Surfer 3, 1968, created by Lee and Buscema, and he's an extra-dimensional demon. He calls his dimension Hell or Hades, but it's not the Hell or Hades.
Right.
And he's not the devil.
You gotta clarify.
He assumes those personas because he knows that's what works on humans.
Right.
So he looks like the traditional version of the devil. He's all red and demonic looking and stuff. He has a cape. But he's not the devil. He's kind of like a devil.
Right.
There it is. Mephisto. Any other Mephisto history that you're fond of, Michael?
I have to ask, have you ever seen John Romita Jr.'s redesign of Mephisto from Daredevil?
What are you talking about? What's his name? The Black Heart?
You talk? No. Yeah, his son Blackheart is introduced Blackheart in that story, but in that same storyline, John Romita Jr. redesigns Mephisto as this. I tried to explain. He looks more monstrous, and he has a big tongue, and it's kind of hard to describe what he looks like. But I think it's great.
I'm typing it in now to see it, but I think I remember it. Wasn't it during that Inferno run?
That
he appeared
around there. Yeah, I love it personally.
Yep, I see him now. Yeah, he's got almost like a reptilian lizard face, kind of.
Right, and spiky hair. A lot of people don't like it, but
dreadlocks. Stuck up in the air.
I like the original, but the original's a little too generic, you know? That's why I like this redesign.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
And of course, Mephisto became infamous when he did the old pact with Peter Parker and
that's right. Forgot about that. Yeah.
Nullified his wedding to Mary Jane.
Yep. Also, don't forget, he was technically in the Ghost Rider movie as portrayed by Peter Fonda.
Oh, that's right.
But they call them Mephistopheles.
Mephistopheles. Right?
Mephistopheles. Right.
Yeah, that's like another name for the devil.
Right.
Old Scratch, Beelzebub. There's a lot of names for the devil.
Right.
But, Mephisto also, there's that story with Doctor Doom trying to get his soul of his mom. Remember that? Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom.
I don't remember that. No. Huh.
Yeah, I think it was I don't know if it's a graphic novel or just a one-shot, but... all right, so there are all the characters we need to discuss for this issue. So here we go, Michael.
So yeah, let's start with the cover. As you, I had no idea this was Herb Trimp.
Yep.
But
Herb Trimp.
we got a cover here. See the Surfer battling Shield, and then we see the Surfer battling Shield. He's shooting the power cosmic, I guess, out of his arms.
Yeah, that's right.
Blasting away, and then we see Nick Fury, and then of course a live model decoy of Dum Dum Dugan standing next to him.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a live model decoy in 1970 or not.
Okay. But then we see this caption here, the Surfer must kill. And the Surfer is saying, there's no other choice. It's Shield or me. And then Nick Fury says, gun him down. He's out to smash us.
That is so great.
Smash us, yeah.
This is a awesome cover from 1970. Like, this is exactly what you want. We've said it many times. You want, like, blurbs and cover dialogue.
Right. And I love how it's, like, yellow text and red cover and blue building. It's great.
Yeah, solid red background in the sky, and Surfer's flying right at the camera, right at the viewer.
Right.
And he's out to smash us.
Mm-hmm.
That is perfect 1970 dialogue right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a great cover. If I saw this cover, I'd be purchasing it. I'd be, oh yeah, I got to see this.
Right.
And look up in the under the price box, Michael, 15 cents.
That's
June
right.
17th, and there's a Jack Kirby Silver Surfer.
Ah, good point. Yep.
Yeah. So that's
Prove
weird.
that
They have Buscema draw the issue. They're like, we're still going to put Kirby's in there.
Mm-hmm.
But all right. So now the issue starts. We get a big splash page. The Silver Surfer. The Surfer must kill.
That's right.
This is the big title.
Yeah, so we got this splash page. Mephisto is chilling out, sitting on someone's car. I hate when people do this. Anyway, to my car anyway. And apparently Mephisto has like kind of frozen time, or he's frozen all the people around him.
Yes.
And he's given the Surfer this ultimatum. And what it is the Surfer has to destroy S.H.I.E.L.D. in order to, if he ever wants to see Shalabal again.
Yes. Mephisto has captured Shalabal,
right,
his lady friend, and he says, hey, the only way you get her back, you got to destroy S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And hey, Michael, this issue is inked by Chic Stone.
That's right.
I love that name, Chic Stone.
Well, we'll talk about the art later, but yeah, I have a lot to say about Chic Stone's inks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because you don't hear many people these days named Chick.
That's true.
But I guess as a nickname, his real name was Charles. They call him Chick.
Chick.
Yeah.
That is an unusual name. Huh.
So, yeah, Mephisto froze time around them. So everyone's just standing on the street, and he's talking to the Surfer. And the Surfer, being the tormented soul that he is, again, the angst-ridden lad that he is, he's very dramatic in his posing, and
right,
he's really struggling with this.
Yeah, and like Mephisto is like gesturing and like conjuring up images of Shalabal. You know, in fact, he even says, "It is just an image I've conjured, lest you falter in your task." And then I love, like, Surfer is, like, recoiling, leaning against the wall there, and Mephisto gets up all on his face, right? Bah! She means nothing to me. Just the shield itself means nothing to me. They are but means to an end. I love that. He doesn't even care about S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Yeah, that's what Mephisto's saying, because basically Silver Surfer's soul is, like, Mephisto's Ahab, and Surfer's soul is Moby Dick. Like, that's his big thing. He always wants to capture the soul of the Silver Surfer. Since he's this cosmic being. And so that's why he's always in these Silver Surfer issues, trying to capture the Surfer soul. So this whole Shalabal nonsense, the S.H.I.E.L.D., he doesn't care. He could care less if S.H.I.E.L.D. gets destroyed. He's just doing this to weaken the Surfer. because he thinks if he can get the Surfer to kill, it will weaken his resistance, and he's one step closer to capturing his soul.
And he actually says, I love this, after I have forced you to serve me once, the next time will be easier, and then the next, and the next, until at last I can claim your very soul. I like how he explains that to him.
And I like the panel of, on page 2 at the bottom left, Surfer standing there looking at the camera, and we see the shadow of Mephisto on the wall.
Right, yep.
Looming over him.
It's great.
But, so then the Surfer gets on his board, and everyone's back to normal. Life around him's back because you see the lady mailing the letter. She's like, oh, look, there's the Silver Surfer. But he grabs his board. I like how he grabs it, too. The board comes flying in, he grabs it with his arm, and he's hanging on it. And then he gets up and he starts surfing, Michael, because he's looking for Shalabal.
Right.
He says, now, do you think this is one of those Marvel things, Marvel method things, where like the artist drew these panels and Stanley's like, I wonder what he's doing there. Oh, he's looking for Shalabal. That's what he's doing.
I mean, yeah, I definitely think that the explanations where he's like, I can cover a city in seconds, an entire continent in a matter of minutes, and yet I find no trace of her. That was clearly Stan Lee trying to sort of smooth over, like, he's literally, like, in the next page, he flies to Paris, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's going everywhere.
Dude, look at that Eiffel Tower, though. Like, Buscema really put in the work drawing that Eiffel Tower. Mm-hmm. And like, you notice the guy at the top on the left, he's like screaming.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right.
Like, you just see a wee little silhouette of him, but you have, like, the lines coming off in the show that he's screaming at the Surfer, like he's surprised at the Surfer.
Yeah.
That's a great panel. All right, so now we cut to Nick Fury, Dum Dum Dugan there at S.H.I.E.L.D. And what's going on here, Michael?
They're arguing because he's like, Nick Fury's like, until we find out what's been streaking around the sky above us, I want every S.H.I.E.L.D. agent off his tail and on his toes. And so art is so good. You see S.H.I.E.L.D. agents scattering, right, to get to work.
Yep.
And then Dum Dum Dugan's like, he's like, get yourselves ready for red alert. And then Nick Fury's like, where you been, you blasted meathead? This is a red alert. Get your battle gear like everyone else, you old walrus. Sure, Colonel. So then he's even chewing out Dum Dum Dugan, right? Even though he's like, I guess he's the second in command or whatever.
Yeah, it's his best buddy, and he's still yelling at him. The thing I learned about Nick Fury from this issue is he's a real dick.
Right.
He is like just an asshole in this.
Right. But I just love how then in the next panel you see Dum Dum kind of walking by the other guys, kind of laughing at him because he got chewed out by...
Yep.
That's just so good. Oh, this art. I could talk about it for hours. But anyway.
Yeah, because they're saying, what's the matter, Dum Dum? Fury reads you the riot act too. To me, his old battle part, he wanted there, Sonny. Yeah, but he's all dejected.
And I love this. This is, again, probably Stan Lee just adding this in. Hey, tell him the Fantastic Four is on the Visiphone. So then we cut to the next shot and we see him. Like, I guess this is a phone. But yeah, there's no image on this, but he's just talking into this like banana-shaped piece of metal, right, Mr. Fantastic? Yes. Right. So yeah, Mr. Fantastic and the Thing are in the Baxter building, and they're talking to Nick Fury. So they're talking about. So he's basically warning him that the disturbances in the sky are the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
And so then again, I love how fast-paced everything is, right? Like, right away, it cuts over to the next thing, and now he's talking to Tony Stark. And he's like, Stark, what about that little item I asked you to whip up for S.H.I.E.L.D.? And Stark's like, it wasn't easy, Colonel, but I think I've got it. Do you want me to have it sent to your weaponry section? And he's like, nah, just put it under your pillow, and maybe the good fairy will let you make a wish over it. What blue places do you think I want, mister? Get it over to me on the double here. Oh, I love it. Anyway.
Yeah, Fury, man. Why would you want to be around Nick Fury? Just, he's like a J. Jonah Jameson that can kill you, Nick Fury.
Right.
I don't want to be around you. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, then he storms away, and we see like the secretary or whatever she is. Well, I shouldn't assume that. That's sexist, but sorry.
I think she's a secretary.
Yeah, she is. But there's a woman there. And then this is another great scene because then this woman kind of looks over her shoulder and she's like, the cold chill I felt as Colonel Fury walked past. There in the corner, standing in the shadows, you see Mephisto just appear, but it's so creepy. I love it, you know. And then he just mesmerizes her and puts her to sleep and then grabs her by the neck. It's just so cool, and she kind of just falls into him, you know.
Well, he kind of grabs her by the cheeks and the lower jaw.
Yeah. You're right. He's got both arms up.
Yeah, like grabbing by the neck might imply he's trying to choke her. No, he's kind of like caressing her face and holding her.
Right.
But it's pretty impressive.
Right. And then this is so cool because, wait, does it happen here? Yeah. So this is his plan. He takes this woman, he makes her disappear and replaces her with Shala Ball, right?
Yes, this
like
makes no
why?
sense.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so now Shala Ball is just thrust into the secretary position. She doesn't know how to type. What is she supposed to do? But like, yeah, there's no need to do this. Like, he could just put Shala Ball in a closet or something. Like, like the plan here is to put Shala Ball in S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, so when Silver Surfer blows up S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, he also kills Shala Ball. And that's the plan. But, like, he could just put her anywhere. He doesn't have to actually give her a job at S.H.I.E.L.D. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. I got to keep her busy, you know?
Strange.
So then, so then Mr. Fantastic calls again, I guess, on the Visiphone. And he's like, heads up, the Surfer's been sighted. And then Nick Fury's like, we know, mister, we spotted him too. And so basically he's like, Human Torch wants to jump in, but Mr. Fantastic's like, don't worry about it. I'm sure they've got jets. They're scrambling. And so then Nick Fury is like, all right, guys, you got orders. So he's ordering the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to go after the Surfer. So on the next page, we see them, get into these jet planes and, take off.
But don't you think it's weird that Reed Richards is like, don't worry about it. They can take care of that intergalactic herald for, who has the power cosmic. They've got jets.
Right.
They can take care of them.
Yeah. So, well, you're right. It's almost like, what was the point of even including those scenes then? I don't even know. Of Mr. Fantastic, right?
Yeah, I guess they had to explain why they don't contribute to help out. Because they had to call them to figure... But really, you could, not have them in at all, just have Fury figure out that it's Silver Surfer on his own. But once you introduce the FF to say it's Silver Surfer, you kind of have to explain why they're not contributing to help.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, it's just weird. I think they're just trying to shoehorn the Fantastic Four and do a book to, people like the Fantastic Four, I guess.
Right. So then basically the Surfer, he's kind of giving up. He's like, well, I can't find her, so I guess that's it. I'm going to have to destroy S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
So,
and then there's a jet plane, and we get to see on the bottom of page 8 there in the lower left, we get a picture of one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. fighter pilots, and that looks very much like Steranko.
I would agree, yeah. And like my first instinct was it looks Kirby-esque, but yeah, you're right, it's more Steranko.
Yeah, there is some Kirby there too, the inking, but like just I don't know, I thought, that's Steranko as soon as I saw it, but yeah. So anyway, the fighter pilots start chasing the Surfer, and then the Surfer says, at last, I know how to keep my oath, yet take no lives. Mm-hmm. So what does he come up with, Micah? What's his plan?
He's like, from the distant vantage point, I can observe in safety. I can watch the planes return to base, then follow at will. And then Fury's like, our birds, the guy's like, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent's like, our birds are returning, Colonel. They've lost the Surfer. Well, it figures it would take a comet to keep up with that joker. So
then why'd you even send up the planes?
What's that? Yeah, I know. I don't even remember. What is his plan? I have no idea.
His plan is like he's just going to destroy the S.H.I.E.L.D.'s buildings.
Right.
He's going to scare everybody out of the buildings and then destroy the structures. Technically, he's destroying S.H.I.E.L.D., but without killing anybody.
Right. And then, this scene is insane. So Nick Fury looks over, and he notices a woman sitting there who we know is Shala Ball. And he's like, Who are you, sister? How'd you get here? She's sitting there like a broad in a blasted trance. And then we see Mephisto's face appear over Nick Fury's, his back, his shoulder. Yeah. I am replacing the girl who regularly has this post. She became ill this morning. And then Nick Fury's like, now ain't that a shame? So, again, this is where it gets weird because the voice is supposed to be coming from her, but it's obviously coming from Mephisto. And then Nick Fury actually says out loud, I don't like it. I could have swore her voice didn't even come from her mouth. This is awesome. So then, he gets on the Visiphone, I guess. And
it looks like a Visiphone.
Yeah, it looks like a Visiphone, right. And he's like, I want to pull a security check and I want it now. That's right. Yeah, Fury, maybe you heard of me. I run this blasted joint. So then we cut over to this other S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who's on like another visiphone, who's answering the call. But Mephisto is literally standing over his shoulder, like mesmerizing him, right?
You kind of like crouching in a weird way. It's pretty cool. I like how
it's very cool, yep. And then he's like, "What's simple child's play to effortlessly deceive the mortal fools?" And then, of course, the guy's like checking the records, and it's just like a filing cabinet, a little file bin. And he's like, "Yes, sir, the new girl checks out perfectly. All's in order, sir." And then Nick Fury's like, "I still don't like it. There's something, What's that?" And then, now the surfer's attacking, right? So we have to go back to business. The next page, we get this really cool close-up of Mephisto. I love that shot, of his face.
Yeah, it looks very creepy.
Right, it's great. So anyway, then the surfer is flying in, and he's like, "I will level every building, nothing will remain, but my pledge made no mention of human life. First, I'll give them warning, I'll let them all escape." So he's using his cosmic blast to like shoot at the building, again hoping everyone will leave. So they're all kind of scattering. They've got their weapons. Then we got a couple of weird half pages of art. This is kind of weird, but anyway, with advertisements at the bottom. Anyway.
Yeah, that is weird. That was a thing they did back then, but not anymore.
No, never,
right?
never, no.
That went out by the 80s. Like you'd see 2 panels at the top and then a big ad on the bottom half.
Right.
But look what the ad's for, Michael. Steranko has written the most exciting book ever, History of Comics.
History of the Comics, yes.
Oh, yeah, of the comics. Only $1.98.
Right.
How about that?
You know what's funny? I actually have, I think, volume 2 or 3 of that. It's like gigantic. It's like as big as Rolling Stone magazine, but with harder cardstock cover.
Yeah, it says it's big. 80 fantastic pages plus a mind-bending 11 by 17 full-color poster size.
Yep.
Cover up by Steranko.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? I don't know.
So anyway,
for $1.98, that's a good deal.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So Surfer is trying not to hurt anyone, so he's only attacking the empty buildings.
Yeah. So, now, how he knows the buildings are completely empty, I don't know. Maybe it's the power cosmic.
The power cosmic, yeah.
He has
always. So Nick Fury is kind of like sneaking around. He's trying to fight back, but so he shoots Surfer's board, right?
Well, yeah, he shoots Surfer off the board. He climbs up this tower and he snipes him. Bang, bang.
Right.
And I think he hit the Surfer. I don't know, because I'm guessing no matter what kind of gun he has to shoot the Surfer, it would not knock him off the board.
Right.
That's just my take on the Surfer. But
right. And then the Surfer agents kind of circle in around him, and then he's like, "Get back, you meatballs! He's playing possum." I'm going to use that. But anyway. So the Surfer tricked them, and then he shoots their guns with his power cosmic, but they shoot him back, right?
Well, they have special guns. These are those special guns that Tony Stark made.
Oh, that's right.
They're called Z-gas guns. Now, here's the question I have, Michael. If these are Z-gas guns, that seems to imply that they're emitting gas to knock out the Silver Surfer. Yet the Silver Surfer doesn't breathe.
He doesn't breathe, really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's out in space all the time.
That's true. Yeah, I guess he wouldn't.
He doesn't need oxygen. He doesn't breathe. So how is gas affecting him in any way?
It's a great point. It's a plot hole.
Yeah.
And just for the record, listeners, when I read that, I read it as Z-gas. But anyway.
Oh, because you're Canadian.
That's right.
Oh, my goodness.
We say it the correct way. But anyway.
Hey, Michael, speaking of Canada, I heard that earlier this week there's a Canadian holiday, Civic Day.
Yes.
Is that an actual thing?
Yes, and I think I mentioned this before. It's because there's this law in Canada where there has to be one holiday every month. And they didn't have one for August, so they just made one up.
So what's are you supposed to do things on the Civic Day? Like, do you have parties, or what do you do on Civic Day?
Honestly, I don't know if there's any... there's no real traditions.
Huh.
It's just a day that we have off.
Well, how come you didn't pick a comic specifically to celebrate Civic Day?
Damn it.
Mr. Holiday.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that for next year.
All right. Just wanted to bring it up.
Huh.
All right. So,
it's important.
They knock out Silver Surfer with the Z-gas, as Michael would say. and they put him on a little stretcher, and they're carrying him around on the stretcher. So Surfer's got to be pretty heavy, right? Like, how much do you think he weighs?
At least 226 pounds. I don't know. I have no idea.
But I was wondering if I guess he's not all metal. Like, What I learned, Michael, doing research, is that silver skin he has in the material of the surfboard, they call it galactus glaze.
Really?
Which, it sounds a little weird.
Yeah. You know what's actually weird that I found out through reading this series, if you read the earlier issues, there's a great issue where he goes out, he actually goes out and tries to get a job, and he does like a job interview, but he's walking around town in a trench coat and like a hat. And it's freaking awesome. But one of the things I noticed about anyone who sees him on the street, they don't comment on his appearance being metallic or like chromy. They say that he looks powdery and white. So it almost makes me think that either Stan Lee didn't quite know how he was supposed to look, or maybe they just hadn't figured it out at that point back then, you know?
Yeah, although, again, we mentioned this last time we had a surfer on in that Captain Britain issue, but this era of surfer also wears underpants.
That's true.
Yeah. His cosmic underpants.
That's right, so. Yeah.
So Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., they put Surfer in a prison cell which has 10 feet thick walls of solid granite.
That's right.
That can hold back any army, but it also has a window.
Yeah. Yeah.
That comes into play later. But they realize that it's not really going to stop Surfer, but they're like, oh, well, what else can we do? This is the best we got. So they put him in a prison cell.
Right, and then Mephisto's, or then Nick Fury's like, anyway, our big job is to find out what he's after, why he attacked us. And then Mephisto's like, let them wonder, the poor bumbling fools, but they shall never find their answer, for I control the surfer's fate, and nothing can save him now. And then while the surfers,
I'm sorry, Michael, but we see the pages of ads.
Yeah.
And
don't be fat.
Yeah, there's a big ad that says "Don't be fat."
Oh boy, yeah. I want to save that one. Don't be
All right,
fat.
I'm sorry. I was taken aback by that. All right. So Surfer's in his prison cell, but there is a window in the 10-foot thick wall of granite.
Right,
so Surfer can look out, and he sees Shia LaBeouf, that she's now a secretary for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? He's like, wait a minute, what's going on? And he's like reaching out the window, like, I can't reach Shia LaBeouf. Yeah.
But he's like, it's Shia LaBeouf, but we don't see her, unfortunately. It'd be better we do later, but not in this panel. But she does not hear me. It can only mean she is in the clutches of Mephisto. Of course it is Mephisto. That's him talking. Mephisto.
Yeah, that's Mephisto saying
that. Right. Right, Mephisto. Of course it is Mephisto. It is I, Mephisto. Mephisto, who shall teach you what it means to break your pledge. And this is where he realizes he's kind of been double-crossed, right? Because he made a deal with the devil. I did not break my vow, but you broke yours. You swore no harm would come to Shia LaBeouf, and yet you brought her here hoping there would be a slaughter. No longer am I bound to you. The compact between us is broke. So now he's going to use the power cosmic to smash out of this jail cell, right? Which, of course, he does.
Yeah, I think I would like to see Surfer say is broken, but is broke. It's a little awkward. But it's nice to see that Surfer is a man, like a principle. Like, I'll serve the devil as long as he doesn't try to trick me. But if you trick me, devil, I'm done.
Right.
I'm not serving anymore. It's a little weird. And he just starts straining against the 10-foot thick walls of solid granite.
Right.
And these walls are made of strongest granite. Its steel is only rock, while mine is now and forevermore the matchless power cosmic.
That's right.
By the way, I always love that it's called the power cosmic instead of cosmic power.
Oh, me too. Yes,
it's so great.
Uh-huh. So finally he breaks out and now he can confront Mephisto. And as he says, she is entranced. She does not see me, right? And then he makes her disappear. Of course,
Mephisto just makes her go away. Boom.
Right.
Poof.
And Mephisto's like, of course, that was the plan, to cause you the utmost agony, to find her so close, then to lose her again. So then he shoots him with the power cosmic. Arg.
Yeah, because Surfer says, this time you've gone too far.
Right.
Not even you will escape unscathed.
That's right.
He shoots him with the power cosmic. Then not even I have the power to slay you. Still, I can make you feel pain. Still, I can cause you to suffer, to fear, to pay for your acts of evil. Surfer's pissed. Yeah.
And now S.H.I.E.L.D. realizes he's loose. So then we got to get the Z gun again and give him a double dose, right?
Yeah, because they know Surfer's loose, but they don't see him shooting any. Like they can't see Mephisto, so
right.
It looks like Surfer's just going nuts, like
right.
he's just shooting his cosmic rays at the wall or whatever. So yeah.
Right. So he's still shooting at Mephisto, but Mephisto's taking it. So then so they run into the room with their Z gas guns, and then they shoot the Surfer. And then Mephisto's like, "All right, well, I'm out of here."
Yeah, well, a little bit before that, he says, "Once again, I shall suffer your attack, yet allow you to live. For it is not your life I crave, but your eternal soul.
Right,
and it shall yet be mine." And he's shaking his fist at him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Michael, another page of ads, and a couple of them caught my eye. This one, America's most amusing pet, the squirrel monkey. Good, healthy stock from South America at a special low price. Will amuse children and adults for hours. Only $13.95, and it comes with a cage. Send cashier's check or money order. Immediate delivery. Now, Michael, you're a comics historian. Is this legit? Is this real?
That's a
you
great
could buy
question.
a squirrel monkey for $13.95?
I don't know. It's kind of questionable, eh?
Yeah, you can't just be selling squirrel monkeys. Like, what is that? What's the headquarters of that place like? Just nothing but wall-to-wall squirrel monkeys?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, Bob, we got another one. Send it out."
Yeah.
And they just put them in a cage. Like, this has to be a scam, right? Like, they send you a picture of a squirrel monkey
or
something?
like a little rubber one, yeah. Can't be real. There's no way.
And then there's an ad at the bottom, electric guitar, only $12, $12.95. That's
Gotta be a good one, yep. I love the obsession with hypnotism too, eh?
Yeah,
Hypnocoin. There's another one. Hypnotism, learn while you sleep, or learn while asleep. It's funny.
And then on the next page of full ads, because there's two in a row, we see one where we'll play guitar in 7 days. But then there's one that says "too skinny?" ?
Right.
Now only a few pages before that, they were yelling at you for being fat. Now they're getting mad at you for being too skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look on the side, Michael, on the left, pet baby raccoons.
Yeah.
America's favorite pet, easy to care for, only $29.95. You could get 2 squirrel monkeys for the price of 1 raccoon.
That's right. Look at this, called The Rascal by Walt Disney.
Yeah,
This must have been before they became such a problem, with like rifling through people's garbage cans and stuff.
I need to do further research on these ordering animals by mail. You can also get a Venus flytrap. Is it animal or vegetable? How about that? And there's an ad for a fanzine. Marvel comic checklist and price list. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Anyway,
back to the
our story.
So he's shooting. So he's still shooting Mephisto. They're just about to shoot him with their Z gas guns. A double dose ought to finish him. They shoot him. And he's like, "My battle has still not been in vain. I leave my mortal foe far weaker than I found him." Right? And then he just vanishes.
Yeah, Mephisto just vanishes.
Right.
Although we should say he also insults Surfer. Says, your witless show of power is like the temper tantrum of a child.
Right. It was a good line.
So, yeah.
So then they're shooting at Surfer. And he's like, "To me, my board, only you can save me now." And then he takes off, right?
Yeah, they hit him with the Z gas, as you like to say, and
right.
But he's awake long enough to like call his board, and he kind of falls down on his board, and his board flies him to safety.
Right.
Out to space.
And then he's like, and Nick Fury's like, "But he ain't got a chance of staying on that board, not with all the gas I fed him." And they still don't know why he attacked.
Yeah, and even though like Surfer's in space, again he's imprisoned on Earth, but there's like some area there up above before the barrier that Galactus put there.
Right.
So
yeah,
he can get some space.
Yeah, so he flies up, he kind of hits the barrier, and then he falls back down, right?
I don't know. Does he hit the barrier? I think he's just flying around the Earth in space.
Well, it says, and so the Surfer falls. But I don't know, I guess he doesn't actually hit the barrier.
He's just falling from the Z gas.
The Z gas, all right. Towards the savage planet that has ever betrayed him, towards a strange and far-off hidden realm in which he's about to find the Inhumans. The end.
So, I'm confused by that. So he's hurtling back towards Earth?
Yeah, see, this is where it's confusing, because the Inhumans at this point lived on Earth. In, where, like, I think Attila, and then later John Byrne moved them to the moon.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was thinking they were on the moon, but all right. So.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Silver Surfer 17. I'm looking through some more ads. You can get a giant lifelike karate practice dummy for only 99 cents, so that's pretty good. All right, so yeah, Silver Surfer 17 from 1970. I liked it, Michael. I really enjoyed it.
I did. I mean, not the best story, but definitely classic Marvel 60s stuff, you know?
Yeah. Like, obviously, we mentioned there's hokey stuff in there, but it's good hokey, like, old comic book goodness.
Right. So. And yeah, like the dialogue is definitely entertaining. The interplay between Nick Fury and Dum Dum and all that stuff, right? It's all good. It's melodramatic, but it's definitely entertaining.
Yeah, Surfer is very melodramatic. Like he at this point in his history, he's a tortured soul. You know, he's all a lot of internal conflict, and plus he's trapped on Earth where he wants to be out soaring the stars. He can't get back to see his home or his beloved Shalabal. So yeah, he's always tortured. First let's talk some Stan Lee, Michael, because I learned some interesting things about Stan Lee. Of course, he was born Stanley Martin Lieber in New York City in December 1922. Sadly, he passed away in 2018 at the age of 95. And his wife, Joan, who he had been married to for 69 years, passed away in July of 2017, also at the age of 95.
Wow.
How about that? Man, married 69 years. Yeah. And both making it to 95. But that had to be brutal for him, though, to lose his wife right before. That's probably what led to his quick death, I know.
Yeah, I would say.
Family connections helped him get an assistant's job with Timely Comics in 1939 when he was 17. Stan says 16 and a half. But he had an uncle that worked there, and he was also the cousin. His cousin was the wife of the publisher, Martin Goodman. So apparently one day his uncle took him in and said, hey, Martin wants you to do something, keep the kid busy. So he started working as an assistant around the office, filling inkwells and stuff, doing, menial tasks. And again, he was only 17 years old. The guy who officially hired him, Joe Simon. Comic book legend Joe Simon. Creator of Captain America.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Simon. Yeah. So in 1941, he also got his first writing credit when he was about 19 years old. He was born December of 22, so it's tough with the age. He was probably 18 there when he got this first writing credit.
Amazing.
But it was for a Captain America text fill-in story. Like at the end of the issue, they would just have a text-only story with maybe like one picture.
Right,
it wasn't like a comic book. So he wrote that, and he introduced the ricocheting shield toss. Like he made it so, he made it so Captain America could throw the shield and have it bounce back to him and stuff.
Huh.
And he used the pen name Stan Lee, which of course is a play off his first name Stanley, because he wanted to write the great American novel. He wanted to have a real literature career, and he thought later on in life if it would hurt his literary career if people knew he wrote for comics. So he wrote under the name Stan Lee.
Yes.
And of course his brother is Larry Lieber.
Right.
Who was also an editor. Did Larry write, or was he just an editor?
Oh, he definitely wrote. He wrote, okay. I think he wrote the first appearance of Iron Man.
Oh, wow.
And he might have written the first appearance of Thor as well. But he was definitely... It's weird because he's completely forgotten by history, but he was definitely around during the 60s for sure. But then he kind of just disappeared after that.
Stan Lee's first superhero co-creation was The Destroyer in Mystic Comics 6, 1941. Are you familiar with The Destroyer?
I think I've heard of him, but I don't know anything about him.
He's a visually striking character. He kind of looks like the Vision a little bit, like he wears a mask and he has these striped pants. His color scheme's like gray and purple. It's pretty cool looking character. But I guess he was like a reporter in World War II. He got stuck behind enemy lines, and he was in a prison camp, and he got injected. One of the scientists there, but a good scientist, an anti-Nazi scientist, injected this fellow with a super soldier serum like Captain America to enable him to escape, and so he became a superhero to fight the Nazis.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, I just looked him up. He looks pretty cool.
Yeah. When Joe Simon and Jack Kirby left Timely Comics in 1941 over a dispute with publisher Martin Goodman, and by the way, Martin Goodman was only 30, and he was the publisher of Timely.
Wow. Those are different times, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lee became the interim editor at just 19 years old. So he was like the main editor, and he showed a knack for it. So he would go on to serve as editor-in-chief of the comics division and art director over those years until 1972 when he replaced Goodman as the publisher.
Yeah.
But Lee served in the Army from 42 to 1945, and he served in the training film division, writing manuals, films, slogans, and occasional cartoons. Some other members of that same division included the director Frank Capra of It's a Wonderful Life fame, and also, Michael, the author Theodore Geisel. Do you know who he is?
No, I don't. No.
That's Dr. Seuss.
Really?
So Stan Lee and Dr. Seuss were in the Army together, the same division. How about that?
Wow. Amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
While he was in the Army, Lee kept writing for Timely Comics, and he was serving as, like, they would send him a letter once a week, and they'd tell him the stories they needed written, and he'd write them and mail them back. And that actually almost got him arrested and thrown in prison, because one week his staff sergeant or whatever said that Lee didn't have any mail. And Lee's like, come on, I know they send me a letter every week. So Lee went in and he saw the letter in the mailbox for him, but they wanted to open the post office. So they wanted to open the mailbox for him. So Lee took a screwdriver, broke into the mailbox, and got out the letter so he could meet the deadline at Timely Comics. But when they found him, they were going to charge him with tampering with the U.S. mail. And
really?
he was going to be thrown in jail at Leavenworth, but one of his commanding officers intervened and made smooth things over. But yeah, he almost got in jail, all because he wouldn't miss a deadline. How about that?
Dedication right there.
Yeah, Stanley. So throughout the 50s, after he came back from the Army, throughout the 50s and stuff, he was writing westerns, romances, science fiction, humor, and horror comics. But he was sick of it. He was done. He was planning to switch careers. But around this same time, Michael, your beloved DC, were they still Atlas at this time, or were they DC in the 50s?
No, Marvel was Atlas. DC was always DC.
No, DC was national. Right?
National, yeah.
National, yeah. But at this point, they were DC, I believe. And they had just brought back the superheroes.
Yes.
Because superheroes took a hiatus. No one was buying superheroes for a while. So DC brought them back, I believe, with The Flash, right? That was the first one they brought back.
Yep.
And so Martin Goodman told Stan, hey, why don't you whip up some superheroes for us so we can cash in on this too? And Lee was just taking it as another assignment before he went out the door. But his wife Joan, his beloved wife Joan, told him, hey, this is your shot. Do what you always wanted to do. Do it your way, because what does it matter? Even if you were going to quit anyway. So here's your shot. Take a shot. So he came up with the Fantastic Four and all that stuff, and his idea was to make them more human. The heroes to have flaws and internal conflict, because at that time heroes were always perfect people.
Right. And interchangeable personalities, basically, as well.
Yes. So he made them each unique and more human, and it really resonated, and it took off, and there you go. Other things that he did, he also tackled social issues with his writing. He added credits to splash pages, because up until that time, it was if they had credits, it would just be writer and artist. But he had letterers, colorers, inkers, all that stuff. He also wanted to make a family, a community of friends between the writers and the creators and the fans. He tried to make everybody in the same team, And I think that really resonated with the Marvel fans. They felt part of the process.
Right.
In 1972, he quit writing books and focused on publisher duties. His last Spider-Man story was 110. And his last Fantastic Four was issue 125. In 1980, he wrote the first She-Hulk with John Buscema, because they had to rush that out, right, Michael, to retain the rights.
Yeah, I think it was over a weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, because they were worried someone else was going to steal the rights to make a TV show or something. So in 1988, like we mentioned, he did the 2-issue Silver Surfer series for Epic with Mobius. And he did occasional stuff after that. And after he left Marvel, he tried to didn't he start his own comic company for a while? And I can't remember what it was called.
No. He didn't start. Well, not until the 2000s. But
yeah. But
But like when he left Marvel in the 70s, he was strictly, I think, trying to, like working in Hollywood, trying to get things adapted, right?
Yeah.
Like picked up by Hollywood, yeah.
And I remember, like, I think this was in maybe in the late 90s or 2000s, but Stan Lee tried to make superheroes for every NHL team. Like, every NHL team was made into a superhero.
Really?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
What can you do? But Michael, it's impossible to talk about the history of comic books without, Stan Lee's the guy. When you look at some of his creations here, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Hulk, The Avengers, X-Men, Daredevil, Iron Man, Thor, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Nick Fury, The Inhumans, Hawkeye, Black Widow, The Falcon, Captain Marvel, Adam Warlock, Peggy Carter. Without him, I would not know Haley Atwell. Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Ant-Man, Wasp, Doctor Doom, Magneto, Kang, Galactus. It goes on and on and on, Michael.
Co-created, though.
Yeah, co-created. Yeah.
All right.
But, I mean...
Yeah.
Because he wasn't drawing them. But, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he never tried to draw.
No.
Right?
No, never. Not as far as I know, never. Nope.
Yeah, you think of one time, he'd say, let me try it.
Yeah,
but, so there you go. I don't know, Michael. What do you think of when you think of Stan Lee? Because a lot of people get bitter about the creative right thing and him, how they say he screwed over Kirby. And
that's a good question. My opinion has changed over the years. Like I remember there was some Fireside collections published in the 70s, like Origins of Marvel, Son of Origins, right? Bring out the bad guys, whatever. And they all said, by Stan Lee on the cover. And that always irked me, right? Because they're not books, they're comic books, right? So they should include the artist as well, I always felt, right? So some of that is definitely Stan Lee's fault. Like, he could have given more credit than he did. But I also know that there was a period where Kirby was starting to kind of say that he did everything himself. He wrote the story and the dialogue, right? So, and a lot of, people like Alan Moore even, they kind of reiterate that Jack Kirby was actually writing the dialogue as well. But for me, it was all settled. There was actually a radio interview done, I don't know how long ago, 20, 30 years ago, where they had Stan Lee on the radio, and they called up Jack Kirby. And they basically had a sort of an argument over the air, and then they kind of reconciled because Kirby was like, well, I actually wrote. Oh no! So what happened was, the guy hosting the radio show was like, well, I don't want to get into an argument. It doesn't matter who wrote what or who did what. And then Stan Lee said, well, I'll tell you right now, every word that you see is mine. And then basically Kirby kind of cut in, and Kirby was like, well, I wrote my own dialogue. And then Stan Lee was like, yeah, but it was never used. Like, you may have written it, but when I got the pages back, he's saying I just rewrote it all. And then Kirby's like, well, I did write it. And then Stan Lee's like, yeah, but you never read it. After the issue was published, you never read the comics. So I think that kind of settles it that, yes, Kirby was a creative giant. And I think he's definitely a more creative person, but Stan Lee was the one that made it, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Palatable? No. What's the word for?
In a way, palatable.
Yeah, palatable
and more popular.
For the public, yeah. Like, he's the one that, he was almost like, the people say he wasn't a great writer, he was a good salesman. Like, he took those ideas and he made them work, it was like a PR, like he was marketing for them for the public. Like, he knew how to write the dialogue, he knew how to hype up the characters, the way that he would speak to the reader, right? Like you said, as if they were like part of the family. I think that's what made Marvel so special. So, he may be a little bit of a shyster, but I still think he's a genius,
Yeah, he's not a great writer, like a literary writer.
No.
He's a great comic book writer.
Yes.
And there are elements in his writing that are literary, like sound, like his internal conflicts and that kind of stuff. That's great. That's very literary, and it wasn't in comic books until he brought it in there.
Right.
So, I think what we're dealing with here is just two guys with big egos, and
and different personality types. Like, Jack Kirby was more of like a street tough, and I think Stan Lee was more, for the lack of a better term, kind of more like a dandy, right? Like, And I think they kind of didn't get along. Like they were good friends, but they didn't get along in that way. But it's not like one was stronger than the other. It's just that I think Lee excelled at being like outgoing and vocal, and he was like the face of the company, and Kirby was more introverted. But he was also more of like a tough guy. So I think they kind of just played off each other in that way, right? And that's why I think they were so creative together. And
I don't know how many years older Kirby was than Stan Lee.
I think he was like 3 or 4.
Okay, so that's not that much then. But he left Timely Comics, and Lee was the punk kid who came in. So he's probably always seemed like him as just a kid coming in. And so whatever. But yeah, I think we've said this before on the show, but clearly both creative geniuses, clearly both all icons of comic books. But I think both also much better together than apart.
Absolutely. Right? Well, yeah, like you can just look at Kirby left Marvel to do the New Gods, the Fourth World stuff, which I think is great, but it's not nearly as readable, or it didn't last as long, right? Clearly, right? So that shows how much he needed Stan Lee. And then the flip side of that is, you listed all those characters that Stan Lee co-created, but after he stopped collaborating with Lee or with Kirby and Ditko, what characters did he create on his own, right? Like you mentioned She-Hulk, which is just a variation on the Hulk. And then what else? Ravage. You know what I mean? Like
he did Daredevil by himself with who was the guy he did Daredevil?
Oh, was it Wally Wood?
No, it wasn't Wally Wood. It was
Bill Everett.
Yes, Bill Everett.
Okay. Yeah, no, true. Like, I'm sure he did. I'm just saying that after that peak in the 60s...
Yeah, I hear
you. Like, at least Kirby was still doing his own stuff. Like, he did, the Eternals and Commandy and Mr. Miracle. But, like, Stan Lee, like, he literally did... He did Ravage 2099, and he did a comic called, what was it, Nightshade or something? Or Nightcat? I don't know if you remember that.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
there's so many Night books, I don't know.
Yeah, there was a superhero. It was almost like Dazzler, where it was created to tie in with an actual recording artist. Yeah, Nightcat, but then it just never went anywhere. So that was like his final, I guess his last hurrah,
Yeah, he never created anything of
note.
Yeah, like culturally significant. Without Kirby. But again, Kirby did create other stuff without Lee, but it was all pretty, I know some people like it, but I always thought it was terrible. And like, if you read Kirby's, when he was an author, or when he was writing the books, like Black Panther, Captain America, the writing not so good.
Yeah, and also, unfortunately, when he came... Like, his art for DC was great, but then when he came back to Marvel, that unfortunately is when his decline began, Like, if you look at the art on Black Panther, like you said, and Devil Dinosaur, and Eternals, it's good, but it's not quite as good. And then by the time you get to the 80s, it's really bad. So...
Well, let's talk about this art here in Silver Surfer, Michael. John Buscema. We went like 40-some episodes not talking about him. Now we had like 3 John Buscema stuff real quick. But, he's great. I love John Buscema. This is still, relatively early in his career, in like 70. Like, he started in mid-60s, really hardcore at Marvel. We went over his history before in the past, so we don't have to go over it again. But this is great stuff. It's John Buscema. Yes. It's great stuff.
Like, I mean, Kirby's my favorite artist, but if you could make an argument that John Buscema, you just look at this stuff, and the thing I noticed about his art is, there's such a thing in comic book, when you're drawing comic book panels, you can go, I guess it's called like moment to moment, or action to action, or location to location. But the cool thing about his art is, in between every panel, there's so much... it's almost like he skips ahead so much. So even like the surfer, when he's flying, it's like he jumps on the board, and then he's flying through the city, then he's in the air, and then he's in Paris, then he's over, then he's over a mountain, then he's in Paris. There's so much happening in between every panel. Or when Nick Fury gives the order, and then the next panel, everyone's running in 3 different directions. Then the next panel, Nick Fury is yelling at Dum Dum. Then the next panel, Dum Dum is already in a different room walking by those other guys, There's just so much information in every panel. And he's an artist where I could, even if the story's terrible, I could just look at his art all day.
Yeah, that's what you want, storytelling, from
Right.
the artist, telling the story.
Now,
And,
I mentioned it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and also his poses and stuff, his dynamic poses and compositions,
amazing.
very Kirby inspired. His compositions and stuff.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and he's obviously a more realistic artist, so I think that's why some people like him better, because Kirby is almost like abstract, right? And this is more...
Kirby's Anatomy is a train wreck.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this stuff, like you said, you have like a wide shot, then a big close up of a guy's face, then another wide shot, and then a different angle, and it's so dynamic. And the only thing I wanted to point out is, like I said, this issue is inked by Chic Stone, who he did really good work with Kirby in the early '60s, but I really don't think he's appropriate for John Buscema.
Why not? I liked it.
I mean, it's definitely good, but okay, I'll tell you right now, if you go back and read the whole series, a lot of these issues are inked by Sal Buscema, John's little brother. And those issues, it is like, it's so fluid. It's the most fluid inks I've ever seen on John Buscema. And this stuff, by comparison, is a lot stiffer, I find.
Well, I think what... maybe it seems like he's inking Kirby, but he's inking Buscema. You know what I mean? Like he's doing the same thing he did for Kirby. Because you do see some panels where it's like, oh, that's how Kirby would be inked.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
But I just love the name Chic Stone.
Yeah, exactly.
That should be like a private detective. Chic Stone.
Yeah, you're right.
Like Johnny Double would be so much cooler if his name was Chic Stone.
That's true.
So, the art's great. The writing, we mentioned Lee really ramped up the dialogue for Nick Fury and doing some crazy dialogue for him, but it was great. I just really enjoyed it, Michael.
Me too. I mean, I've read the whole series. It's a good run.
So I'm going to give it 8 out of 10.
Whoa, that's what I'm going to give it. 8 out of 10. First time ever, I think we matched up exactly.
No, we've matched before.
Oh, okay.
I think... what was it? I think just a couple weeks ago we gave something 7s. I can't remember, but
definitely an 8. Yep. Woo! Silver Surfer. There you go. All right, I guess it's time for next week's pick, right?
Yeah, can't wait.
Well, I know that you like Marvel.
I do. I love Marvel.
There you go. See, I'm always looking to please my co-host. I know you like Marvel, and I know you like Jim Shooter.
I love Jim Shooter.
Right. That's why we're going to do what some call the end of the Bronze Age. Starbrand #1.
Wait, did you say Starbrand #1?
Yeah, Starbrand. Remember Starbrand, the new universe?
Yeah, the new universe.
Yeah, wow. Have you ever read that?
No, I never read any new universe.
Oh, it's good stuff, man. A lot of people hate it, but I like it.
Wow. Who's the artist, Starbrand?
John Romita Jr.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I'll send you the link right now.
He was supposed to be like Marvel Superman.
Kind of, yeah.
And, because they thought it was going to be a big deal. So Romita said, yeah, I'll do that.
And it lasted 19 issues. But anyway, talk about that later.
One more than the Silver Surfer.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
The Starbrand. Huh. Well, I'm going to tease you, Michael. The next book I'm going to pick, it's not New Universe.
Okay.
But it's from 1986, and it's a very, 1986-ish book that I'm probably most people either never heard of or totally forgot about.
Is it Marvel?
It's Marvel, yeah.
Ah, interesting. Okay, you piqued my curiosity, but I'll keep it a surprise.
Yep.
All right, so I guess that wraps up another episode of Flea Market Fantasy. We are available on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all under Comic Book Syndicate, as well as on the Comic Book Syndicate website. Every week we do a different comic from the Bronze Age, that's the 1970s or 1980s. So, new episode drops every Tuesday, so until next Tuesday, disperse!